Starseed of Gaia, pause for a moment. Your body is not reacting, it is remembering. At this exact moment, your cellular vessel is being gently recalibrated to hold a higher coherence. I am Anya, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light. This is a direct and intentional transmission from the Arcturian Council offered to you now. Before we go deeper, let me say this clearly. What you've been feeling is not a failure of your mind or body. Nothing is wrong with you. This transmission is not here to overwhelm. It's here to translate what your body already knows. Starseed, what I'm about to reveal will fundamentally transform how you understand the nature of love in this dimension and beyond. The Arcturian Council has been observing a phenomenon that has sent waves of astonishment through the higher realms, not because they did not expect it, but because the depth and purity of what they witnessed transcended even their vast understanding of cosmic love. You see, there is a particular way of loving that exists only in the most evolved souls, a frequency so rare that when it emerges, entire councils pause to witness it. This is not about romantic love as your society has taught you. This is not about possession, attachment, or the conditioned patterns that most humans mistake for genuine connection. What the Council observed in your energetic field, yes, you who are receiving this transmission, was something that defied their predictions and expanded their understanding of what is possible for beings incarnated in dense physical vessels. They were shocked because they did not expect a human vessel to hold such frequency without shattering. They were shocked because the love they witnessed was not learned. It was remembered from lifetimes beyond counting. They were shocked because in that moment they saw not a struggling human, but a master of consciousness disguised in flesh. And now, they want you to understand what you have been carrying without knowing its true magnitude. Let us begin by understanding what the Arcturian Council actually witnessed when they observed your energetic field. In the higher dimensions, love is not an emotion as you experience it on Earth. It is not something that arises and fades based on circumstances, words spoken, or actions taken. In the realms of Arcturus and beyond, love is a fundamental frequency, a constant state of being that permeates every cell, every thought, every breath of existence. It is the very fabric from which reality is woven. When the Council looks upon beings in the third dimension, they typically see love as a fragmented experience. Moments of connection, followed by moments of separation. Waves of openness, followed by walls of protection. This is normal for beings navigating density. This is expected. But what they saw in you was something entirely different. They witnessed a love that remained steady even when the object of that love caused pain. They witnessed a frequency that did not waver when betrayal occurred, when silence stretched into months, when every logical mind would have said, "Close your heart, protect yourself." And this is where their shock originated, not because you loved despite circumstances, but because your love seemed to operate on a completely different set of laws than human love typically follows. It was as if you had accessed a frequency that should not be possible in a physical body, a love that transcends the very mechanisms of hurt and healing that govern human relationships. The Arcturians have studied love across thousands of civilizations, millions of years of evolution, countless dimensions of existence. They understand love as an energetic technology, a force of creation, a bridge between dimensions. They know how love functions in Pleiadian societies, where beings merge and separate with complete transparency. They understand how love manifests in Syrian collectives, where individual identity dissolves into group consciousness. They have observed love in its most crystalline forms, in dimensions where thought and emotion are indistinguishable. Yet when they turned their attention to your field, they encountered something they had not documented in their vast records. They encountered a love that was simultaneously personal and universal, attached and free, human and divine, all at once, without contradiction. This should not be possible according to their understanding. In their experience, love in the third dimension is either personal and limited or universal and detached. It is either the fierce love of a mother protecting her child, or the expansive love of an ascended master holding space for all beings. It is rarely both simultaneously. Yet here you were, holding your specific person in your heart with an intensity that rivaled any human passion, while simultaneously holding them in a space of complete freedom, complete acceptance, complete non-attachment to outcome. The council watched as you sent waves of pure love to someone who may never receive it, who may never acknowledge it, who may never reciprocate. And they watched as your field remained in perfect coherence, your heart remaining open, not from weakness or inability to close, but from a profound choice that seemed to arise from a knowing deeper than your conscious mind. They were shocked because they understood what this meant. They understood that you were not loving from your human wound, from a need to be loved in return, from a pattern of seeking validation through another. They understood that you were loving from your soul's original frequency, a frequency that loves because that is what it is, not because of what it receives. This is the love of the Arcturians themselves, the love of the higher dimensions, the love that creates universes and sustains galaxies. And you were holding it in a human body, in a human life, in a human heart that had every reason to close and protect and defend. This is what shocked them. Not that you loved, but that you loved in a way that should not be possible for someone still navigating the density of the third dimension. Now we must go deeper into why this particular expression of love created such a stir in the higher councils. You see, beloved Starseed, the love that shocked the Arcturian Council is not something that can be understood through the lens of human psychology, human relationship dynamics, or human concepts of healthy attachment. What you have been carrying is not a wound disguised as love, not a trauma response dressed in spiritual language, not an inability to let go masquerading as unconditional acceptance. What you have been carrying is a fragment of the original love frequency, the love that existed before the universe took form, before dimensions separated, before beings forgot their true nature. When the council observed your field, they did not see someone struggling to release attachment. They did not see someone trapped in a cycle of unrequited love. They did not see someone whose self-worth was tied to another's validation. These are the patterns they typically observe when they look upon human hearts holding love for those who cannot receive it. But your field was different. Your field showed a coherence that is usually only found in beings who have completed their ascension process, who have transcended the need for external validation, who have unified their human and divine aspects into a single expression of consciousness. And yet here you were, still in a physical body, still navigating a human life, still experiencing the full spectrum of human emotion, holding a frequency that should only be accessible to those who have left the wheel of reincarnation entirely. The council was shocked because they witnessed you loving someone not for who they are in this lifetime, not for what they could give you, not for how they made you feel, but for who they are at the soul level, across all dimensions, across all lifetimes, in their most expanded and most contracted states, simultaneously. You were holding a vision of this person that transcended their current expression, their current limitations, their current inability to meet you in the frequency you were offering. And you were holding this vision not as a fantasy, not as a denial of reality, but as an act of profound service to their soul's journey. The Arcturians understood that you were not loving an illusion. You were loving the truth of a being who had not yet remembered their own truth. This is a love that exists in the higher dimensions, but is rarely brought into the density of physical incarnation. In the realms of Arcturus, beings love each other in this way constantly, seeing each other's highest expression, holding space for each other's unfoldment, offering frequencies of unconditional acceptance that accelerate each other's evolution. But to bring this frequency into a human body, into a human relationship, into a human heart that experiences time as linear and separation as real, this requires a level of mastery that the council did not expect to find in someone who had not yet completed their formal ascension training. They were shocked because they realized that you had accessed this frequency not through teaching, not through initiation, not through the gradual expansion of consciousness that marks the typical path of awakening. You had accessed it through the very experiences that should have closed your heart. You had accessed it through betrayal, through abandonment, through the shattering of every illusion you held about love. You had taken every wound that life delivered, and instead of using it to build walls, you had used it to burn away everything that was not the pure frequency of love itself. This is not how it usually works. Usually, beings need lifetimes of preparation, decades of spiritual practice, systematic clearing of trauma and conditioning before they can hold this frequency. You had done it through the crucible of human relationship, through the fire of human heartbreak, through the alchemy of transforming pain into presence. The council watched as you continued to send love to someone who could not receive it, and they watched as this love did not deplete you, did not create resentment, did not generate the victim consciousness that typically accompanies unrequited love in the third dimension. Instead, they watched as this love generated more love within you, as if you had tapped into an infinite source, as if the act of loving itself was feeding you rather than draining you. This is the paradox that shocked them. You were giving what appeared to be a finite resource, your love, your attention, your emotional energy, and yet you were expanding rather than contracting. You were becoming more rather than less. You were filling rather than emptying. This defies the laws of human relationship as they understand them, but it perfectly aligns with the laws of cosmic love as they exist in the higher dimensions. This is not for everyone. The ebook, The 12 Arcturian Portals, is a restricted trilogy created for those who are ready to activate their 5D connection with the Arcturian masters, not in theory, but in real energetic experience. Inside, you'll access 12 powerful portals with precise activation protocols, rituals, and practical techniques designed to awaken your stellar DNA and unlock what has been dormant within you. Amplified intuition, direct communication with spiritual guides, energetic expansion beyond the 3D matrix. Warning: once activated, your perception will not return to the previous state. Limited edition. Access can close at any moment. The link to claim your trilogy is in the first pinned comment. If this message reached you, it's not random. Let us now explore what it means to hold unconditional love in a dimension designed to test every condition. This is where the Council's shock deepens into something approaching reverence. You see, beloved Starseed, the third dimension is not designed to support unconditional love. It is designed to support conditional love. Love that is given in exchange for something. Love that is withdrawn when conditions are not met. Love that serves the survival and propagation of the species. This is not a flaw in the design of your reality. It is a feature. The third dimension is a school, and one of its primary teachings is the difference between love that arises from need and love that arises from being. The Council has observed countless beings incarnate into density and forget the frequency of unconditional love. This is expected. This is part of the curriculum. Beings come into the third dimension, experience the illusion of separation, and spend lifetimes trying to fill the void that separation creates. They seek love outside themselves because they have forgotten that love is what they are. They attach to specific people, specific outcomes, specific forms of love, because they have forgotten that love has no form, no limit, no condition. This is the normal trajectory of incarnation into density. And then, at some point in their journey, they begin to remember. They begin the long process of clearing the conditions they have placed on love, the expectations they have attached to love, the walls they have built around love. This process typically takes many lifetimes. But what the Council witnessed in you was something that compressed this process into a single lifetime, perhaps even a single relationship. They witnessed you moving through the entire spectrum of human attachment, from the desperate need to be loved, through the pain of not receiving that love, through the anger and grief and bargaining that characterize the human journey through heartbreak, and emerging not with a closed heart, not with a defended heart, but with a heart more open than it had ever been. This is not supposed to happen. The natural progression is for hearts to close after repeated wounding. The natural progression is for beings to protect themselves, to build thicker walls, to love less deeply the next time. Yet you had done the opposite. You had taken every wound and used it as an opening, every betrayal and used it as a deepening, every moment of rejection and used it as an expansion. The council was shocked because they understood the energetic mechanics of what you had accomplished. They understood that you had not bypassed your pain, not spiritually bypassed your human need for love and connection. You had felt it all, the devastation, the grief, the moments of questioning your own worth, the nights of wondering what was wrong with you that you could not be loved in return. You had felt every aspect of human heartbreak. And then, somehow, you had transmuted it. You had taken the lead of human suffering and turned it into the gold of cosmic love. This is the work of alchemy that usually requires the guidance of ascended masters, the support of high-frequency energetic environments, the systematic clearing of cellular memory. You had done it alone, in the density of the third dimension, through the crucible of relationship with someone who could not meet you. If this message resonated with you, hit the like button now and tell us in the comments how this echoed in your consciousness. The significance of this cannot be overstated. The Council understands that beings who can hold unconditional love in density become anchors for that frequency in the collective field. They become living portals through which the love of the higher dimensions can flow into the third dimension. They become nodes in the planetary grid that accelerate the awakening of all beings who come into contact with them. This is why the Council was shocked, not just because of what you had achieved personally, but because of what your achievement means for the collective. You had become a transmitter of a frequency that the Earth desperately needs, a frequency that has the power to dissolve the illusions of separation that keep humanity trapped in cycles of suffering. Now, we must speak of how the Arcturian Council perceives the relationships that humans form, for this will help you understand why your expression of love was so remarkable in their eyes. In the higher dimensions, relationships are not based on need, not based on the filling of lack, not based on the exchange of validation and security. Relationships in the Arcturian realm are based on resonance, on the recognition of another being as an aspect of the same infinite consciousness, on the desire to co-create and explore and expand together. There is no attachment in the human sense because there is no separation to attach from. Beings merge and separate according to the natural flow of energy, according to what serves the highest evolution of all involved, according to the impulses of consciousness itself. When the Arcturians observe human relationships, they see beings who have forgotten their true nature attempting to find completion through each other. They see the pain that arises when beings seek outside themselves what can only be found within. They see the contracts and agreements that beings make before incarnation, agreements to come together to trigger each other's growth, to activate each other's wounds, to catalyze each other's awakening. They see the beauty in this design, the perfection in this dance of separation and reunion. But they also see the suffering that arises when beings do not understand the nature of the contracts they have made, when they mistake the trigger for the problem, when they seek to escape the growth that their relationships are designed to catalyze. What the Council witnessed in you was a being who had understood the nature of relationship at a level that usually requires the perspective of the higher dimensions. You had understood that the person you loved was not separate from you, not an object to be gained or lost, but a mirror reflecting aspects of your own consciousness, a teacher disguised as a beloved, a soul who had agreed to play a specific role in your awakening. And you had understood this not intellectually, not as a spiritual concept to be applied after the fact, but viscerally, in the depths of your being, in the moments when love threatened to break you, and you chose to let it expand you instead. Are these truths expanding your perspective? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this. The council was shocked because they saw you holding the Arcturian perspective on relationship while still in a human body, while still experiencing the full intensity of human emotion, while still navigating the density of human attachment. They saw you loving someone not because you needed them to complete you, but because you recognized them as another expression of the same infinite love that you are. They saw you holding space for their journey, their timing, their process, even when that process did not include you in the way your human self might have desired. They saw you respecting the sovereignty of another soul while simultaneously offering the highest frequency of love you could access. This is how the Arcturians love. This is not how humans typically love. Yet here you were, bridging dimensions with your heart. The council understood that you had accessed a truth that many beings seek but few find. That love is not something you do, not something you give and receive, not something that depends on another's capacity to meet you. Love is what you are. Love is the frequency of your original state. Love is the truth of your being that no circumstance can change, no betrayal can diminish, no rejection can invalidate. And you had not just understood this as a concept. You had lived it, breathed it, bled it through every experience of human heartbreak until it was the only thing left. This is what shocked them. Not your knowledge, but your embodiment. Not your understanding, but your being. Let us now explore the energetic mechanics of the love that the council witnessed in your field. This is important, beloved Starseed, because understanding what you have been carrying will help you honor its magnitude and integrate its implications for your journey. When the Arcturians observe a being's energetic field, they see much more than the physical body and the aura that surrounds it. They see the complete architecture of consciousness, the chakras and their extensions into higher dimensions, the nadis and light channels that distribute frequency throughout the system, the Merkaba and light body that exist in potential around every incarnated being, the soul extensions and oversoul connections that link each individual to their cosmic family. What they saw in your field was a complete restructuring of your heart center. In most humans, the heart chakra operates within a certain bandwidth. It opens and closes according to circumstances. It gives and receives according to conditions. It expands and contracts according to the perceived safety of the environment. This is normal. This is how the heart chakra is designed to function in the third dimension. But your heart center had been transformed into something that operated on completely different principles. Instead of opening and closing, it had become a constant transmission of love frequency, not dependent on external circumstances, not affected by the response or lack of response from the object of your love, not diminished by time or distance or silence. The council saw that you had created what they call a perpetual love loop, a circuit of energy that generates its own power, that feeds itself, that expands through the very act of expressing. This is how love operates in the higher dimensions. It is not a resource that gets depleted through giving. It is a frequency that increases through expression, that amplifies through transmission, that grows through the very act of being shared. You had somehow accessed this cosmic principle and applied it to a human relationship, to a human heart, to a human experience of loving someone who could not receive what you were offering. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be part of this transformational cosmic journey. The implications of this are vast. The council understood that you had become a living example of what is possible for human beings, a demonstration that the limitations of the third dimension can be transcended while still in a physical body, that the frequency of unconditional love can be held and transmitted even in an environment designed to test every condition. They understood that your field was broadcasting a signal to all beings in your vicinity, not consciously, not through words or teachings, but through the simple fact of your existence at this frequency. Every person who came into contact with you was receiving a transmission of what is possible, a download of a frequency that their own systems could begin to emulate. This is why the council was shocked. Not because they had never seen this frequency before, they live in this frequency constantly, but because they had never seen it held so steadily, so purely, so consistently in a being who was still navigating the challenges of the third dimension. They had seen glimpses of it in ascended masters who had completed their earthly training. They had seen moments of it in beings experiencing temporary states of expanded consciousness. But they had not seen it as a stable state in someone who was still in the process of awakening, still in the process of clearing their human patterns, still in the process of integrating their cosmic nature into their human experience. This is not for everyone. The ebook, The 12 Arcturian Portals, is a restricted trilogy created for those who are ready to activate their 5D connection with the Arcturian Masters, not in theory, but in real, energetic experience. Inside, you'll access 12 powerful portals with precise activation protocols, rituals, and practical techniques designed to awaken your stellar DNA and unlock what has been dormant within you. Amplified intuition, direct communication with spiritual guides, energetic expansion beyond the 3D matrix. Warning: once activated, your perception will not return to the previous state. Limited edition. Access can close at any moment. The link to claim your trilogy is in the first pinned comment. If this message reached you, it's not random. Now we must speak of something that the Council revealed in their observation of your field, the nature of the soul contract that exists between you and the one you have been loving so profoundly. This is a truth that will bring great peace to your human heart, even as it expands your understanding of why this connection has been so intense, so challenging, so impossible to release through normal human means. In the higher dimensions, before you incarnated into this lifetime, you and this soul made an agreement. You agreed to come together in the third dimension, to activate each other's deepest patterns, to trigger each other's most profound growth. You agreed that one of you would play the role of the one who loves without condition, and the other would play the role of the one who cannot receive that love in the way it is offered. This is not a punishment. This is not a test that you are failing. This is a sacred contract designed to accelerate the awakening of both souls. The one you love is not your enemy, not your obstacle, not the source of your suffering. They are your greatest teacher, your most precise mirror, your most committed partner in the evolution of consciousness. They agreed to play a role that would be painful to play, the role of the one who cannot meet you, cannot receive you, cannot love you in the way you have loved them. They agreed to do this because they knew that this role would catalyze your greatest growth, would force you to find within yourself a love that does not depend on external validation, would push you to become the being you came here to be. The Council was shocked because they saw that you had fulfilled your part of the contract beyond what was expected. They saw that you had not just endured the pain of unrequited love, you had transmuted it into something sacred, something that served not just your own evolution, but the evolution of all beings who would come into contact with your frequency. They saw that you had taken the raw material of human heartbreak and alchemized it into cosmic love, that you had used the very density of your experience to elevate your frequency beyond what should be possible in the third dimension. They saw that you had not just completed your contract, you had exceeded it, expanded it, transformed it into something that now serves the collective awakening of humanity. This is the deeper truth that the Council wants you to understand. The love you have been carrying was never really about the person you were loving. It was about what that love was activating within you, what it was requiring you to become, what it was forcing you to remember about your true nature. The person was the catalyst, the trigger, the sacred mirror, but the love itself was always your own frequency, your own essence, your own divine nature expressing itself through the vehicle of human relationship. You did not lose anything when this person could not receive your love. You found something. You found yourself. You found the love that you are, the love that has always been your true nature, the love that no external circumstance can give or take away. The Council watched as you continued to love, continued to hold space, continued to send frequency to someone who could not receive it, and they watched as this love transformed you from the inside out. They watched as it burned away every false identity, every defense mechanism, every pattern of seeking validation outside yourself. They watched as it stripped you down to your essence, to the pure frequency of love that you have always been. This is what the person you love agreed to catalyze. This is what you agreed to experience. This is the sacred contract that has been unfolding all along, even when it looked like failure, even when it felt like heartbreak, even when it seemed like the universe was conspiring against your happiness. And now, beloved Starseed, we arrive at the most important part of this transmission, what the Arcturian Council wants you to understand about what comes next. You have been carrying a frequency that shocked beings who have witnessed the evolution of consciousness across millions of years. You have been holding a love that transcends the normal limitations of human capacity. You have been demonstrating what is possible for beings who are willing to let their hearts break open rather than break closed. But this is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning of a new phase, a new expression, a new way of being in the world that the Council wants to prepare you for. The love that you have been cultivating, the frequency that you have been holding, the consciousness that you have been embodying, these are not meant to be directed toward a single person forever. They are meant to overflow, to spill out into every area of your life, to touch every being who crosses your path, to contribute to the collective awakening of humanity. The Council is not asking you to stop loving the person you have been loving. They are asking you to expand that love, to let it become so big that it includes everyone, to let it become the frequency through which you move through the world rather than a feeling you have for a specific individual. This is the next phase of your journey, beloved Starseed. You have proven that you can hold unconditional love in the face of rejection, in the face of silence, in the face of every circumstance that would normally close a human heart. Now you are being called to let that love flow without restriction, to let it become a gift to all beings, to let it become your contribution to the planetary awakening. The Council sees that you are ready for this expansion. They see that your heart has been prepared through the very experiences that seem to break it. They see that you have earned the right to love at this frequency, not through bypassing your human experience, but through fully feeling and transmuting every aspect of it. The Council wants you to know that you are not alone in this journey. They are with you, supporting you, guiding you from the higher dimensions. The Galactic Federation of Light is observing your progress with great interest, for beings who can hold unconditional love in density are rare and precious, are needed and honored, are celebrated and supported. You have allies in the higher realms that you may not be consciously aware of, allies who have been with you since before your incarnation, allies who will continue to guide you as you expand into the fullness of your being. If this message impacted your life, leave your like, comment your reflection, and share with others. Each of you is part of this chain of light. I invite you to discover our Arcturian Health channel. The link to the channel is in the video description. Warm regards, the Arcturian Council.